Hello and welcome friends. In this particular module, we'll be discussing about the physical characteristics, their definition, significance and determination of the physical characteristics such as identification of the individual components, particle size and size distribution, moisture content and density. As you learn the content, you will be able to define, state the significance, and also state the procedure for the determination of physical characteristics such as particle size and its distribution, moisture content, and density. So, under this particular topic, we wish to discuss mainly about these particular four characteristics. First is identification of the individual component. Second is determination of the particle size and size distribution. Third one is determination of the moisture content. And fourth is determination of density. This physical characterization is important in order to decide the recovery aspects of municipal solid waste, as well to select and operate a particular equipment dealing with the processing of municipal solid waste. Also, the permeability of the solid waste is one of the important physical characteristics because it is associated with the voids, which in general provides path for the movement of the liquid as well as gases in landfill. So the first characteristic, that is identification of individual component. So the way you see here in the sketch, as we go for random sampling, the way we discussed about the coning and quartering technique in our previous presentation, accordingly we can take some specific weight of the sample for a given locality, and accordingly it can be separated in its various constituents. So the way we discussed, as we have such kind of the sampling done over the period, over the seasons, we'll be able to get the reasonable idea about these particular various constituents for that particular locality. As such, we'll be able to understand the components which will be making that prototypical composition, their relative distribution which can be identified easily, and it is according to the prevailing trade for that particular place. As we have such kind of the data, now that data can be presented in certain ranges, the way you see here. Say for a given locality, this particular food waste is observed to be lying in between 6 to 26% of the total content, and for each of such cases the way I have mentioned here. The typical percentage can also be averaged out, and accordingly it can be expressed as percentage by mass. While doing so, one has to be very particular about choosing a particular sample, saying the sample is representative. One will have around 90% of the confidence while presenting such kind of the data, and in order to have this particular 90% of the confidence, one is expected to choose around 90 kg of the sample from a particular place. So as I discussed initially, how many times such 90 kg of the sample is to be chosen, it will go with one's experience, and it will solely depend on a particular locality and the objective of that particular study. The second aspect is determination of the particle size. It is needless to say, the waste we are dealing with is comprising lot many components the way we have mentioned here: food waste, paper, cardboard, plastic, etc. As we see their particular configuration, it's very irregular. Even it is intermingled into the various sizes, and hence the typical size expression becomes very difficult analytically. Hence, we consider the length of a particular component expressed in millimeters for a particular waste. Even we can go for extending this particular length criterion, and accordingly here this particular length, width as well as the height of a particular component can be assumed to be referring to the length only. As such, this particular size of the component can be expressed as average of length and width, or it can also be expressed as average of length, width as well as height. Here, in order to design this particular length of the component, we can go for some manual means. We can make use of such mesh fixed over this particular wooden frame, and accordingly here we can determine the component sizes based on the size of that particular mesh. Also, we can go for such mechanical means, and such trommels will help us to have the particles segregated according to their various sizes, and their particle sizes can be expressed. As I tried to mention, here such expression is difficult. Hence, various researchers have used various approaches. The two of that, here the way you can see, the percentage of the total mass of that particular components can be expressed in relation with the mesh size. Here the way you see, there is quite a variation as far as the particle size is concerned. However, mostly the total MSW content is governed by majority of smaller fractions. Same thing can be seen in this particular graph. Here the graph is drawn as objects per ton versus that particular mesh sizes. Here the smaller components are pretty as compared to the larger size particles. As we determine these particular particle sizes, we'll be able to decide and select the processing techniques. We can determine the homogeneity of that particular sampling. Also, we'll be able to have the fair idea about the surface area to volume ratio, which will be available for bacterial access to the substrate. We can also have some idea about the potential for the preferential of the liquid flow path and hence the permeability associated with the compacted and uncompacted solid waste. We can decide about these particular waste packing densities and also the recovery through trommels and screens. Third property is determination of moisture content. It can be expressed as mass of the moisture per unit mass of wet or dry material forming that municipal solid waste. The determination of the moisture content is essential because it adds in the weight, hence the cost is associated with the labor requirement as well as transportation. Even if that particular municipal solid waste is to be incinerated, because of the moisture content it will attract the more energy. This particular content is a critical determinant in the economic feasibility of the incineration processes because certain heat must be supplied initially in order to drive away the moisture that is present in the solid waste which is proposed to be used as fuel. As we think of certain processing techniques like composting as well as anaerobic digestion, we wish to have this particular moisture content to its optimum. The moisture content can be expressed on weight basis or it can also be expressed on dry basis. Here, in order to determine this particular moisture content, the sample needs to be heated so that it will become totally dry. As we refer to standard procedures and the literature, it is seen that certain sample can be heated to 105 degrees centigrade in a furnace to its constant weight over an hour. Also, the sample can be heated at 77 degrees centigrade over say 24 hours and accordingly its dry weight can be worked out. Here, while using such a temperature range, one has to see that particular the plastic waste it has won't melt and it would create some intermingled mass which will lead to determination of further characterization. Usually, this particular moisture content is lying in between 20 to 45%. Mostly, this content will vary from 15 to 40%. However, these particular extremes are more related with this particular season of the year, the humidity and weather conditions, especially the rain. It can also be seen that whenever we deal with any solid waste, initially it may have very small moisture at the point of its generation. Say for example, if we think of newspaper discarded, it may have very small moisture content. However, as it mixes with the other kind of the waste being disposed, say for example, if we think of food waste, it will be having some moisture content to the tune of 40 to 45%. So, this moisture will be absorbed by the newspaper, and initially the content it has will be considerably altered. Even as the time passes, this particular moisture may also be reduced. So, whenever we are trying to determine that particular moisture content, the age of the solid waste can also be one of the factors in addition to its mixing. However, as we think of certain, say, subsequent processes, say for example, if we are thinking of certain, say, composting or such vermicomposting and such things, in order to process that particular waste through biological processes, we would need around 12% of the moisture for the sufficient action of this particular bacteria. Even there are certain studies which are expressing the association of the biogas generation in proportion with this particular water content. One of the important factors is field capacity. So, this particular field capacity of the solid waste is the amount of moisture that can be retained in a waste sample subject to downward pull of the gravity. So, the way you see here, this is the typical configuration of the municipal solid waste as it comes across this particular water current. All the voids this particular sample has will be filled, and it will be retained within the mass of that particular solid waste. So, this particular retention is nothing but the field capacity. As this particular field capacity is consumed, excess of the water it has will be leaching down, and as such it will be giving rise to this particular leachate. So, the field capacity of the waste material is of critical importance in determining the formation of the leachate in landfills. Water in excess of this particular field capacity will be released as leachate. This capacity varies with degree of applied pressure and the state of decomposition of the waste. The field capacity of uncompacted commingled waste from residential as well as these commercial sources ranges around 50 to 60%. Here, as you see the data being presented from the various places, moisture content is expressed to be 20 to 45%. It is expressed to be 50 to 40%. While defining this particular field capacity, it is expressed to be 50 to 60%. So, whenever we are dealing with a particular sample, it's better to have this particular moisture content determined for a particular place, giving consideration to the prevailing conditions. While analyzing, one can make use of such typical moisture contents which are available in the literature. So, for example, for the food waste, one can think of this particular percentage range 15 to 80 and typically to be 70% and accordingly. In order to estimate this particular moisture content, this is the actual configuration that has been taken from a particular site. So, the way we consider that 77 degrees centigrade over the 24 hours or 105 degrees centigrade over an hour, we can work out the moisture content. Giving consideration to this particular moisture content and this particular percentage of mass as discarded, which is nothing but the weight mass, Here we'll be able to work out this dry mass. So having this particular dry mass and waste mass with us, we can work out their respective moisture contents for a given configuration. Here the total weight mass as discarded, say it is 100 kg. Say here, giving consideration to this particular moisture content, dry mass works out to be 78.95 kg, whereas the moisture is 21.05. Hence, as the moisture content is worked out, as we consider the weight as discarded, it will be moisture content on as a discarded basis, which is nothing but the weight basis. Whereas, as we consider here the dry mass, it will be the moisture content on dry basis. Both these particular results have their own applications as far as further processing is concerned. The fourth parameter is determination of the density. This particular parameter is very important for the further decisions associated with the storage, collection as well as transport of that particular solid waste. Also, as we deal with the various cases, we'll be getting highly variable densities, and such kind of the data would be useful for the determination of volume of landfill spaces. For a given region, as discarded as well as compacted density may be highly variable. However, depending on the storage aspect, collection aspect and transport aspect, we can decide further strategy by giving consideration to such guide values. So these particular densities, as I mentioned, vary markedly with geographic location, season of the year and also the length of time of the storage. The ratio as compacted to as discarded is called as compaction ratio. Unfortunately, there is very little and mostly no uniformity in the way these particular solid waste densities have been reported in the literature. Often, no distinction has been made between uncompacted and compacted densities. Hence, one must take great care while selecting the typical values. One can make use of such a simple process in order to determine the bulk density of the measurement. So, let's have this particular composite sample of this particular municipal solid waste collected from the different parts of the heap, and we'll have that stored in this particular 1 cubic feet box and weighed with the help of certain spring balance. After weighing, the contents of this particular box would be emptied into the bigger box, which is having the volumetric capacity of 1 cubic meter. So this particular process will be repeated until this 1 cubic meter is fully filled up to the top. So once this particular larger box is filled, the weight of this particular box will be noted. This weight should not be compacted by the pressure. As we repeat this particular procedure, say thrice, and take the average weight, we can have this particular belt density expressed as weight per cubic meter. As I tried to mention on the initial two slides, say for example, these are the data collected from the various sources. Here the way you see for garden trimmings, the range is given to be 100 to 250 kg per cubic meter, and typically its density is expressed as 100. The way you see here, for the garden trimmings only, the range is given to be 60 to 200. Also, for the food waste, as you see, the range is 800 to 1600 kg per cubic meter with a typical range of 550, whereas for some other place, the waste is having range of 130 to 480 kg per cubic meter, and typically it is 290. So this makes substantial difference. Hence, while using any of such typical values, one is expected to be very careful, and the data which is available from the various literature could be adopted as a part of input method with the sound logic and its applicability for a given region. Also, by making use of such typical densities, if the density is not actually worked out, we can have it theoretically determined. Say for example, if for given sampling, if the waste components are observed to be this with their percentage by mass as given in this particular second column, we can refer to the literature which could be applicable for our own region. The typical densities can be assumed, and as we have that, we'll be able to determine the respective value of each of such components. So as we determine the value of each of such components, it could be summed up, and this particular value can be considered in order to determine the density as discarded. Here, having the total mass, say 100 kg, as we divide it by this particular value, it works out to be 90.06 kg per cubic meter. Though this is a simple step, it can be associated with lot many things. Say for example, if for a given region, if we have the generation data, if we know the population, we'll be able to work out the vehicle size, the requirement, and even the budgetary provisions associated with that. Even we will be able to have these particular values as guide values in order to design a particular transport station and similar energy recovery and processing facilities. We can also have certain guide values in order to decide the landfill value. So, thank you for your attention. I hope the concepts that I tried to discuss are clear to you. As we move ahead, we will discuss about chemical and biochemical characteristic of municipal solid waste. So, bye till then. I wish you very happy learning. Thank you.